Life Stories Live.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another life story on Life Stories Worldwide. Got a really interesting story for you this evening. It's good to have you with us, regular people, and we welcome the new people who are watching the broadcast today, and those who are listening on Torch Trust, and especially we welcome the people in Ukraine who are watching and listening to the broadcast tonight. If you need help, you need prayer, then contact us on our hotline, +44 794 355 0287. You can phone, you can text on WhatsApp. You can go to our website, lifestoriesworldwide.com. There you'll find lots of great information to help you. So tonight we have Charlie Hale, or Charlie Hansen now as he is. Charlie was a footballer with Manchester City, but at 19 years of age, he had an injury which stopped his career, and he then went into show business as Charlie Hale, and did all sorts of jobs. He became a workaholic. He became a comedian, an MC, a radio host, a broker for promoters, and also ran a sports memorabilia business. So he had a lot of jobs, but he did too much and had a nervous breakdown. He'll tell you about that and how he came through that, and now he's completely restored. But tonight, it's great to have Charlie to share his story. Charlie, I'm going to hand over to you to share your life story. Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, God bless you, Alan, and God bless you, everybody who's watching, especially the people of the Ukraine. God bless you. It's wonderful for you to be listening. Yeah, okay. I was born in a place called Warrington in Cheshire. And we've just joked about that, Warrington, actually, because we're not playing very well at the rugby. And Alan's from Wigan, so he's been gloating, because Wigan are probably the second best team to St Helens as we speak. And you're actually playing them in the Challenge Cup, I know. So you are the best two teams. We're struggling at the moment. It's funny, I was brought up, my family actually were all pro rugby league players. My brother played for Warrington as I was growing up. His older brother, there's about 16 years between us in age. He played for Warrington Rugby League. My cousin did, my uncle. We were a pro rugby league family. I ended up playing what is termed as a soft game, which is football. But I got all the injuries anyway, so I consider that the tougher game, all the leg kicks. But, I grew up in a household, really, that nobody really spoke it. It's strange. We weren't what I call a speaking family when everybody got round and got together. I had great parents. I had two great brothers. As I say, they were both 16, 17 years older than me. There's no mistakes with God. I always thought I was not meant to be here, but obviously, God meant me to be here. But I did sort of, I think a lot at the time, I thought, well, there's a big age difference. And I had heard through family members that I wasn't planned. So I think that was part of the rejection that sunk in me as a young boy, that sort of growing. We know a seed grows, whether it's rejection, a seed of rejection, a seed of love, a seed of hate, what it is, it can grow. So I didn't really think I was meant to be here. Grew up in Warrington, which is a great town, my hometown. I love Warrington. I've always, even when I've been on television, I always tried to give it a plug, Warrington, because I do love Warrington. But growing up in Warrington, I mean, there was only one other black family called the Cumminses. We were the Hansens. My dad was born in Ghana. He came over to fight in the World War for England. My mum, who was mixed race, she was born in England, so my gran married a black man many, many years ago, in sort of the early parts of this century, when it was very unheard of then, And I've heard the stories about going through some horrific times, but as I say, the family settled in Warrington. And I was always well aware that, as I say, everybody else was a different colour to me. I was accepted, I was loved, so it was never a problem, but you're still aware of it. you know, there was obviously certain issues and certain things went on. So you can sort of grow up feeling inferior and second best. And as I say, little seeds like that happen. I was always a good footballer as a kid. I mean, what they do now in towns, they will take, in every town, there's maybe about 50 to 100 kids who are at football clubs, different football clubs around the country. In my day, there was only a couple I know of. There was me and a guy called Tony Bannister, who was a great footballer. I believe he was probably the best in the town, better than me. But I think I stood out a bit more because I was black, you see. They called me Pele. I stood out a bit more. He was a great footballer, sadly lost an eye. Otherwise, he would have gone on to be a top professional. You know, his brother played for QPR, Gary. Good lad as well, nice family. He went to Woolston School. They were our rivals. We did beat him in the finals, but, you know, he was a special player. But anyway, as I'm growing up, I know what I want to be because I am a good footballer. And they say I had the nickname of Pele in the town. And, you know, by the time I was 12 years old, I had quite a few clubs wanting to sign me. I had Manchester United interested in me, Manchester City, Coventry City, and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, the Coventry City scouts, he sent me dad a letter and he charmed me dad. And I remember he used to pick me up and he used to get to Coventry and I signed schoolboy forms at Coventry City with a scout called Alf Walton, who's actually known as the best scout ever. He brought more top players through than anybody. I don't know what he's seen in me, but he did. I remember George Curtis, the great manager. He was saying that basically, you know, that he only ever brought top players through. So anyway, I'm at Coventry City and I'm travelling back and through, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the travelling. It was too much for me. When I went to school, I can't say I got myself a great education because at school, all as it was for me was football, 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 nothing else. Didn't want to do anything else. So I never got myself a great education. I was always a class clown. I was always acting deaf. But do you know something? At that time, I remember I was 14 years old then, and by that time, Manchester City had come in for me. A scout called Jack Casey had seen me playing, and he took me to Manchester City, and people were touting me as the next big thing to play for Man City and play for England. The great Sir Bobby Charlton presented me with a cup when we beat Woolston 2-1 at Warrington Town, and Bobby wanted to take me to Manchester United. And, it was an absolute pleasure that the great Bobby Charlton wanted to take me to Man United. But to be honest, I looked at his hair and thought, well, if that's what it does for his hair, I'm not going. but seriously, I was already at Manchester City and I loved it. So as far as I was concerned, I was going to sign for Manchester City and everything was great. Now, the teachers used to say to me at school, get yourself a great education because you need a good education. You may get injured. You're going to need something to fall back on. You don't have a trade. Now, for me, I just didn't even think that I was going to get an injury. In fact, probably the opposite, because I can remember being on the youth centre field. And when I was on this youth centre field, I'll never forget, I bent down and this javelin hit me in the head. And when I looked up, everybody was astonished because they seen the javelin come at me 100 miles an hour and the point of it just hit me in the head and bounced out. And I can remember I had a headache and I jumped up, and I won't repeat what I said. I was only 14 years old at the time. And, everybody said, wow, said, you should have been dead. You should have been dead. I mean, obviously, good Lord was looking after me at that time. Always believed in God. Didn't really understand who Jesus was. I knew there had to be a great creator. I would go to one side of the classroom and they'd teach me about evolution, and I always thought they were mad because a big bang causes chaos. A big bang doesn't cause. Let's be honest. If you hear a big bang in the streets or a bomb goes off, what does it do? It causes chaos. So it can't cause life. It causes death, a big bang. So we always knew that there had to be a great God. But I thought, yeah, God sent his son to die for the world, but not for me. He sent it for the world. So I didn't understand what a personal relationship was. I probably would have considered myself a Protestant at that time when I was a young boy at school. As I say, all I ever wanted to do was play football. So we just carried on playing football. By the time I was at Manchester City, as I say, from 14 to 19. And then between 18 and 19, I had two bad injuries to my knee. And when I had those bad injuries to my knee, well, that was it then. The doctor said to me, look, son, he said, if you don't stop playing football, he said, by the time you're 30, he said, you'll be in a wheelchair. Now, to me at that time, it was woof. It was the end of the world. I felt suicidal. Because at that time, I just lived for football, watching Muhammad Ali, the boxer, and watching football. That's probably all that I lived for at that time. So to me, it was just the end of the world. People said to me, oh, you do impressions, you're funny, you make people laugh. Why don't you be a comedian? Why don't you be an impressionist? And I used to think, nah, there's no way I'd do that, because I used to go around watching impressionists and comedians, and I seen how tough it was. I would laugh at them, and I'd see the audience just staring at them. It was like a staring contest. People were just ignoring them, and I seen the pain and that they had to go through, and I thought, I'd never want to put myself through that ever. I'd never want to do that. Anyhow, after a succession of different jobs, I thought, maybe I'll give it a go. Now, I fancied a double act because I loved Markham and Wise. And I thought, let's see what I can do with this other career. Now, I really felt that I'd let my dad down because my older brother, Kevin, God rest his soul, he's passed away now. Kevin, he was a rugby player for Warrington, but his career ended quite quickly, and I knew that. And I just sort of felt my dad was let down, really, by having two special sporting sons that a lot of people said would do things. So I really felt that I'd let my dad down. I had this rejection in me, that the rejection was going by now. I'd always grown up clean living, never drunk, never smoked, even to this day, never drunk, never smoked. Always something like this it would be, which is Vimto. Anywhere I went, never drunk, never smoked, never had any bad habits whatsoever, really. So, as I say, I'm this teenager and I'm going into my early 20s. So I think, right, I'm going to give this comedy like a go. So I started a double act called Hale and Hansen. Now, within Hale and Harty, I'd had a few partners within that because I really wanted, I felt that my career had gone, had let my dad down. So I wanted my dad to see me successful in this career. So I wanted the right partner who really, really wanted the same things as me. So there was a few partners, but as we started to do pretty well, my dad died. And to me, that, I was 29 years old at the time, and I just felt cheated. I felt robbed. And there was a pain and an emptiness like I've never, ever, ever had in my life. I wanted to kill myself. I'll be honest with you. I just wanted to kill myself. I just didn't want to be here. I didn't know where I was going to go if I killed myself, but I wanted to kill myself. First of all, the pain of not having football and, was enough, and I could cope with that. But when my dad died, it was all too much. So what I've done, I set off on this train journey. And when I tell you about this train journey now, all glory goes to God. No glory goes to me. I'm going to tell you about healings, miracles, salvations. I'm going to tell you about a world that's absolutely crazy, but all the glory goes to God. Now, I was saying to Alan before, I shouldn't be alive the life I've led. When people say you need 8 hours in a night, I used to get 8 hours in a week on the road. Traveling Germany, traveling Northern Ireland, traveling Wales. And, a lot of people, they'd be on drugs 2 and 3 days, and I'd stay awake without it. And people were fascinated that I could do this without taking a drug. And I used to always have this party trick as well, where they were all tired and I'd start shadowboxing and showing them how fast my hands was.
LifeStories Live.
And people couldn't believe it, but I always had this energy in me that was just unbelievable, whether it be on a football field or off. So anyway, I'm leading this life, and the faster I go and the harder I work, the less I have to think about my dad, the less I have to think about any pain. So as I say, we go in Northern Ireland for months, Wales, Scotland, Germany, on the road. And it becomes a bit of a wild life. As I say, never drunk, never smoked, never took a drug, but there was obviously certain things I did do, but which we don't even want to talk about. But, life for me was still very shallow, very empty. Always had these thoughts of suicide. There's always a pain. Now, after I'd done this for 10 years, I'd lived 10 years on the road. And when I say, you know what I mean, a good night's sleep would have been 3 or 4 hours a lot of the time. And your mind can't cope with it. Your mind and your body need to rest and get repair. The word talks about all this. But I always felt like I had a clamp on my head very, very tight. So my life become very zombified. Even when I was going on stage inside, I'd sort of be like that, wide-eyed, and people would think I was always relaxed, but I was like a spring coil because I'd just never had any sleep. And after 10 years, I started to break down bit by bit by bit. But God was guiding me, you know. I mean, I've crashed my car, I think, four. I know I've done it 5 times, but I've had 4 major crashes where I fell asleep, and God's just kept me alive. So it was then I decided I'm going to need to start paying some money for somebody to drive me about. Otherwise, I'm not going to be alive. So I had a succession of drivers. I mean, they worn out very, very quickly, you know. They ended up being ill, all different things. Nobody could keep up the pace. It was a crazy, crazy life. I can remember in 1990, I was so down. It was unbelievable in 1990. And I can remember I was in this lovely bungalow, a 2-bedroom bungalow. And I remember being there and I thought, I need to end it all. I need to get out of this pain, but I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know whether God really loved me. I didn't know whether Jesus loved me. I thought, well, yeah, he died for the world. He doesn't know me. Didn't understand what a relationship was with Christ. I only knew about religion. And I can remember one night I thought, right, I'm definitely going to do this. So I'm just planning ways on to kill myself. And I remember the emptiness was just unbelievable. I can still see myself there now. And I remember I said the words, I said, Jesus, I said, if you really love me and you died for me and you really love me and you don't want me to kill myself, I said, I want you to make that phone ring once. And you know what happened? The phone rung once and I went like that. Now, a peace came over me, which, you know, and I didn't know at the time was the Holy Spirit. And that peace came over me, which was unbelievable. I remember going to bed that night and there was a bright light shining through the window and it was just a peace. It was a peace that was unbelievable. And I knew that, you know, I couldn't kill myself. I knew I had to carry on with my life now. I mean, to be honest, I still had this depression about my dad dying and about my sports career ending. I didn't really want to be in the world I was in. By this time, I got very successful. I was earning thousands of pounds a week. Start to do television shows. Every time I come off a television show, I was always more depressed because I thought it would make me feel brilliant. But I used to come off and think, my dad never seen that. My dad never seen that. So I always had this emptiness within inside of me. And it was never as good as football. It never has been, you know. I've done 103 TV programs, but none of them's ever been as good as playing football. You know, I was free on the football field, free to do what I wanted to do. And it was up to me. So it's never ever replaced football. But in my life, as I say, as I'm going along, but you know, in 1995, I mean, the best thing that happened to me, you know, in my life was Tally was born, my daughter, who's you know, she's probably watching this now. I mean, I absolutely love her to bits, and you know, she's always there for me no matter what. You know, I absolutely adore her. And she was born, and that gave me hope. You know, that was when I knew, you know, I had something to live for when my daughter was born, Talia. So anyway, I'm going through my life now. In about 1992, I had said the sinner's prayer to let Jesus in my life with friends of mine who now live in France. Mark and Alison Hay, they live in France now. I'd said the sinner's prayer, but I didn't understand what it meant. I mean, I've actually been speaking to a friend of mine today about a son. And, you know, he said the sinner's prayer, but he's never let the Lord into his life where he's reading and praying and having that relationship. And you know, the word's quite clear in Matthew 12, verse 43. You know, the word says, you know, when an impure spirit comes out of a man, it says it goes around looking for different places. It comes back with seven spirits 9 times stronger. And that's what happens with people, you know, who give their life to Jesus, then they don't fill themselves up with the word of God. And I believe that's what happened to me at the time, because life became quite hectic. I mean, at this time, as I say, you've got to imagine, I'm a comedian, I'm an MC, I'm a radio presenter, I run a sports memorabilia business, I'm doing interviews with people. I'm doing auctioning. I had about 5 different jobs that I was doing, and I was getting in, as I say, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, all types of things going on. It was crazy. Now, I can remember one morning I came in, and it was about 4:30 in the morning.
Life Stories. Life Stories Live.